Welcome back, everyone. As parents, we always want our kids to be the very best they can be. When it comes to confidence, though, experts say it's up to us to make the mold. So what should we be doing? Thank goodness these guys are going to tell me. Joining us in Real Talk today, Jamie Bendel was so nice he stuck around. Also, the stress therapist, Sherry Flake, and the owner of Closet Couture, our friend Amanda Easterlin. Hi, guys.
Hi.
I love that we're talking about this. So here's some tips that the experts say to help your children reach their confidence. They tie that their kids' work ethic to their success. So experts from this parenting site, Fatherly, say parents should always compliment their kids' work ethic, even if they don't get an A on the test or maybe win the soccer game, that this is going to give them a healthy sense of confidence. I would say, uh-oh, you're going to disagree? I would say yes.
I don't know. I try to parent work smarter, not harder.
Okay.
Right? So don't put in all that effort to B it up. Put in that effort to get the A.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to agree with you. Uh-oh, look at Sherry. She's like, yeah.
Well, I'm here to disagree, right?
Well, not necessarily.
No, yeah.
Oh my God, that's right. You got last time you guys were here, it was a little bit. Ooh, I forgot.
Oh, crossfire.
Yeah.
Honestly, what's really cool is I read this book called Nurture Shock a while ago when my kids were small, and it said that when you tell your kids that they're smart, that they kind of slack off if they can't get something right away. And so you could praise them for hanging in there rather than just telling them that they're smart, because even if you're super smart, nobody comes out of the womb just like knowing their ABCs. Like they gotta learn them. And then I started noticing that in my practice. I'd have these teenagers come in and they're like, well, everyone says I'm smart, but I guess not. And like it was like they had more tendency to drop out and all that. So I kind of took that out of my repertoire. I was like, oh, you hung in there. Like, so I get that kind of.
You're like, you're mediocre.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not. But so I guess I've always erred on the opposite side of the enabling of poor performance. Right? So by the same token, where you go, you're not that good at math, or you kind of struggle with reading. Like it's to me, it's also enabling some of the poorer performance, right? So
well, if you think it enough, you'll believe it. That's
that's what I mean.
dangerous.
But if it's repeated and it's heard and you know and whatnot. But a lot of the article, they were talking a lot about it in like the sports context, right? So I think one of the biggest things that as a youth coach, if I could encourage parents to do, it's to stop talking negatively about your kids' teammates while you're in the car after the game.
Wow, are people doing that?
People,
that's so mean.
There are so many, and I'm telling you, as a coach, I hear the things that these kids say in the dugout, and it's like, well, my mom says it was because Katie dropped the ball, right? And it's that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Well, your kids are older. I don't think mine are doing that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds awful. I don't want that.
I see you agreeing. What are you thinking more of?
As far in the confidence, I think confidence is what fuels that desire to continue to do something if you're just average at it, or if you don't get the glory. I feel like by putting the confidence in them, they'll continue to do it.
Right.
Regardless if they get the glory, if they're the lead scorer, or they get the A on the test.
Right.
It's about the confidence of completing that task.
Right.
Regardless.
To persevere.
Yes.
You know
because
what?
they're going to have to.
Right.
To get through
this was a good example. The girls at their cheer competition this weekend, I guess there had been some slight tweaks before. Well, my two, because I videoed it, I saw some mistakes, and I saw some mistakes really from they didn't do that well. But I was like, guys, I'm so proud of you. You got to this point. And it's interesting, though, because I wonder if other moms are like, I just saw Kate not be able to get up on the pyramid. It's not, we do that, and you're absolutely right. It's a horrible thing that we're teaching our children. Like, you know, pointing out what other teammates are doing, or other friends are doing, other peers are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, with my kids in sports, is I also make sure that they understand if they don't have the glory position, like the one that gets all the credit for scoring, I make sure that they understand that if you don't do your job, they can't do their job.
Love that.
And so that helps them to also find confidence in their particular role in the sports.
Right. I want to move on to number two. They compliment themselves in front of their kids. Experts say parents shouldn't be shy about talking about personal qualities, skills, successes. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's a fine line here, I think. Like meaning like, oh, you know, look at mom's on TV, or I mean, I don't.
Well, I think
because of this or that, I don't know.
Well, but so in the context of confidence, though, right? So we shouldn't assume that confidence is a synonym for success.
Yeah. Right. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
So
exactly.
so I can be confident to say I feel comfortable speaking in front of people, but I recognize that it's not necessarily something that comes easily to everyone.
Right. Sure.
So there's some other. So while I'm confident speaking in front of people, you're not going to get me to sing in front of anybody.
Right. Right.
Meanwhile, my daughters love singing in front of people and don't necessarily like feeling like they have to give a presentation. So we have our confidence isn't linear. It looks like a jigsaw puzzle piece.
Yeah.
There's areas where we're really confident, and there's other areas where we maybe lack some confidence. And I think as our job in parents is to understand the difference between those two.
Right.
I think it helps to talk about like what you do well and what Daddy does well and what other people do well, because everybody has something. And even sometimes I tell my kids, like, sometimes that thing isn't school for some kids. And that doesn't mean that they can't go home and do something amazing. Like, I think it points out, like, look how good I am at this and I'm not that good at that.
Right.
I think they feel it kind of normalizes a little for the things that they can do, you know? And then they realize that if that person can't do this thing, doesn't mean that they can't do anything. So mind your P's and Q's, little one.
Exactly. What about, and again, number 3 is they compliment their kids on their skills. Kind of going back to what you said, or sports. Do you think, though, sometimes we can give them that oversized sense of confidence? Like, how do we, I like the way you framed it, though, just a minute ago. And how do we do it in a way that, again, that they're not feeling, maybe that they're realistic about their achievements.
Right, and I have that situation. One of my children was number 1 on the team, and he thought he was really great. That was his actual number, and he was not. He was not. So everybody would be like, "Who's your son?" I'd be like, "Don't let the number fool you. He's number one." He's number 1. But he would come off the field, and he'd be like, "I did great." And I mean, he would kind of check in and out. I mean, we had to tell him, you know what, you need to work harder.
Right.
But we didn't want to kill his spirit because we wanted him to continue.
Right.
But it was a fine line, and it goes back to what Jamie was saying about how much effort they're putting into it.
Right.
And each situation is a little bit different.
Also, this next one goes along with it. They're honest with the kids about their weaknesses. So, you know, is this our weaknesses or their kids?
The kids' weaknesses.
The kids' weaknesses. Well, it's important for kids to realize.
Parents oftentimes pick up on kids' weaknesses pretty quickly. I mean, there's a lot of, right? I mean, and part of the problem is as parents, we are, before our child can communicate back with us, we are measuring our child, right? Because every time you go to the pediatrician, you're filling out the height and weight chart, and you're trying to measure.
Is he ever going to wave?
Are they reaching their milestones and whatever? And I would like, when I go for my next visible, to see my height and weight chart. Like, how am I doing? Am I still in the 85th percentile, or am I falling? But so part of what the challenge is what are you focusing on? I had a thing at the school recently. We're in the cafeteria. It is like sports banners galore, champion this, champion that, victory this. And I said to the principal, I was like, the implicit message here is that the only achievement that's worth acknowledging in the public space of the cafeteria is athletic achievement.
Right.
That there's somebody who's got a 1600 on the SATs or whatever it is on the ACTs, or won the robotics team.
Right.
So I think as parents, when we identify things that are areas where the child may have doubt or they may not be experiencing some success, I always try to separate the item with the identity, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that seems dishonest as opposed to you're a liar.
Right.
Because one is identifying them as a person as opposed to a behavior.
Right.
And nobody says
good.
Yeah. Plus weaknesses. That's what I tell my kids. Just because you need extra tutoring or you need extra help, that weakness doesn't have to remain a weakness.
Right, that's what I
things
tell
change.
mine.
That's what I was going to say.
Exactly.
I mean, right now that's what's going on, but I mean, who knows?
Let it be a challenge to turn that weakness into a strength, or just accept that that is a weakness and be proud that you're moving forward.
Exactly.
And go back to number 1 and encourage hanging in there.
Right.
You hung in there.
Number 1.
Right. You hung in there.
And lastly, what do you guys think about, of course, they tie success back to teamwork. And I think it's so important. I always talk about what a great team we have here on Atlanta and Company, our crew and the producers, and it's not just me. That's so important, right?
Absolutely, and making sure that that our kids all have that role in that teamwork,
right?
Whether like they're getting the credit or not.
Exactly, yeah. And
I think it also implies that, you know, there's something always to give. You're not better than somebody.
Right, right.
You know, you're a little bit better than you used to be, but you're not better than anyone. Everybody's got their own bag of rocks to carry.
And so look, to me, confidence boils down to having some faith that it's going to be okay. If I wrote a book today that said raising the delusional child, right, nobody's likely to buy it because you go, all you got to do is tell them they're awesome and nothing bad ever happens. You'd be like, well, that's a recipe for failure, right? But having the ability to go, I'm going to suffer a setback, I may have a challenge, but I can persevere and stick it through, and everything might be all right on the other side, is really, I think, a healthier way to look at it.
And I want you guys to weigh in on our poll. Sorry, I almost forgot about it. Do you think your children are confident? You know it, or some days, let's make sure we hear from you right now, huh? Of course, some days, question mark, perplexed face. So weigh in. We want to hear from you. We want to hear maybe the lessons that you instill in your children to help them get to that point. So great job, everybody. I love it. Great
teamwork. Great teamwork. Affirming our confidence.
Yes, always.
I feel so confident.
Raising confident panelists.
All right, trending with Trent, someone who's always confident. Are you, Trent? That's coming up. He's like,